Alright guys, let's talk a little Dungeons and Dragons. And no, I'm not talking about the game. Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today we are talking about Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Amongst Thieves. This is going to be my non-spoiler review. The movie doesn't officially come out to theaters for another 2 weeks, but I was able to recently check it out at an advanced fan screening, so I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the film. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long-lost relic, but their charming adventurers goes dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. And the film stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Sophia Lillis, and Justice Smith as our main group of characters. So the film follows Egan the Bard, played by Chris Pine, and Holga the Barbarian, played by Michelle Rodriguez. They've recently gotten out of prison after a previous heist has gone wrong, so now they're trying to get a team together to go after this ancient artifact so that way they can go after someone who used to be one of their friends but has now turned an enemy. And before we go any further into the review, I want to give you guys this disclaimer that I actually do play D&D almost weekly with a group of friends, but I am by no means an expert when it comes to this stuff. So I just wanted to give you guys that heads up, so that way if I make a mistake at all in this video regarding any of the lore, characters, things like that, please don't kill me. Please don't come from my head D&D community. I'm trying my best here, but I also want to let you guys know so that if you're watching this and maybe you don't play D&D, you know that going into this, you don't need exactly an extensive knowledge to enjoy the film as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and continue talking about the movie. As far as the story itself goes, I think they did a good enough job here with what they were trying to cover. For any of you guys who have played D&D before, you know that some campaigns can take weeks, if not months, to complete. Now imagine trying to stuff all of that material into a runtime that's just a little over 2 hours. So I think with what they were trying to work with, I think they did a good enough job with that. And I almost think that D&D maybe could work better as a series, just where you have all this material, all these different characters that you're trying to cover. I think it might almost work better there because you can spend a little bit more time developing and getting to know these characters, where something like this, you're trying to fit all of this, all these different characters, this development, the story, into a 2-hour runtime. I do think that everyone in the group is likable, though. There isn't any character here that I didn't care for, but I would say overall, as far as the character that I really liked the most, that I really was interested in learning more about, was Sophia Lillis' Doric, who is the Tiefling of the group. She's able to shapeshift into different creatures, which definitely comes in handy for our group throughout the film. And actually, after seeing this, gives me more of an appreciation of Tieflings, that when it comes to D&D, maybe in a future campaign or something, I might possibly go that route and try one of these characters out, because I really like to see the powers on display here in the film. And again, like I said, I am a basic D&D player, so I don't know if maybe all that stuff maybe she's not able to actually do in an actual D&D game, but how it was brought to the big screen, I thought it was really cool. And speaking of creatures, I actually love the design of most of the ones that we saw in this movie. And just with some of the recent films that we've had the past couple of years where visual effects, CGI being a little shaky at times, I was a little worried going into this, just because I knew going into this kind of world that there probably would be a lot of CGI, a lot of special effects and things like that, just with the different kind of characters and creatures that you run into. But I am happy to report that, at least for me personally, I thought that most of them, they really looked good, and this is a type of film that it very easily could have went the other way. So I love the creature designs overall. I also thought that the action and fight scenes throughout the movie were handled really well. I maybe would have liked the final fight that we get to be a little longer than what it was. I still enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but I kind of wanted just a little bit more from that. But overall, throughout the film, I had a really fun time whenever it would break out to a specific action sequence, or if the characters were fighting someone or some creature. So I thought that was handled well, too. And overall, I think this movie was just a really fun time at the theaters. It's nothing too complicated. The story isn't anything that's going to be groundbreaking. You've seen some of this stuff done before, but it was just one of those movies where you can go to the theater, have a fun time. It knew exactly what it was, which is what I was hoping for, that it knew what its identity was, and it went for it. I also thought that the humor throughout the movie, which you see a little bit sprinkled throughout the trailer, I thought that was handled really well too. A lot of times throughout the movie, there were several moments where my audience that I saw it with, which was pretty much a packed house, they were laughing, cracking up quite a few times. One scene in particular, which You might have seen it. It's like a TV spot, I think that's out now, but it involves a graveyard scene, and people were cracking up at that. So yeah, I just had a really fun time with this movie. As far as negatives go, I would say there are some times where certain sequences or character arcs or just like learning more about the characters in general can be brushed over a little quick, so they can feel a little rushed. So those would probably be my biggest negatives with the film, and I kind of mentioned that, you know, early on in the review, where there's so much, this world is so open with what you can do with these characters, with the storytelling, that I feel like it must have been hard as hell to try and cram this into a 2-hour movie runtime. So I don't want to blame them too much there. I understand that must have been very difficult, but you're just like, oh, I mean, that seemed to happen really conveniently, or I want to learn more about, you know, this thing that was mentioned about a certain character, and we don't really come back to that, you know, later on in the film. So those are a couple of the nitpicks I would say with the movie, but overall, I still really enjoyed the film. It would definitely be something that I would check out again. And I think, you know, it does lead to possibly setting up a franchise. So if they don't go the streaming route, like I mentioned, like maybe doing a series, which at this point I don't think they are, where they have the film, then if they do a film series, then it would maybe give us a little bit more time to learn about some of these characters, their backstories and stuff like that. So overall, as far as the score goes, I'm going to give this thing an 8 out of 10. I definitely think that even if you don't know a lot about the game, that you can still go into this movie and enjoy having fun with it. There is certainly some elements throughout there that even if you just barely played the game, you're a novice like myself, you'll get a lot of the different references and things like that, so you might appreciate that a little bit more. But I am curious to hear reviews both from people that are, you know, experts or love playing the game, or from people that have never played the game at all, just to see kind of the different opinions on there, because I'm sure there will be some for sure. But yeah, as far as the score goes, like I said, 8 out of 10, guys. I recommend you guys checking out when it comes out in a couple weeks, if you haven't already, if you got to go to one of the advanced screenings like I did. But I want to hear what your thoughts are, so let me know down below in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. Give this video a thumbs up. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.